Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering The Leftovers, Season 3, Episode 2, Don't Be Ridiculous. In this episode, 3 crazy Australian bitches make a sacrifice to the drowned god. People in this world. It's almost like humans are garbage. Welcome to Unspoiled.
Sometimes the world looks perfect, nothing to rearrange. Sometimes you just get a feeling like you need some kind of change. No matter what the odds are this time, nothing's gonna stand in my way. This flame in my heart, like a long lost friend, gives every dark street a light at the end. Standing tall.
I was going to say, what is dead can never die, but that motherfucker was
That
dead.
motherfucker, he died and was dead, and remains so, for lo, he grasped the stone to his chest, leaped into the water, and what the fuck? He just fucking killed himself. Yeah, welcome to the show, everyone. I'm Natasha.
I'm Rashawn.
Yeah, this episode was, it felt like it was like going in 8 different directions at once.
It kind of was.
There was a lot happening here.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. This is a Nora episode, and I love Nora, so.
Yeah, this actress is like ridiculous.
Carrie Coons is off the fucking chain. And the fact that they just got snubbed, you know, they just keep getting snubbed at the Emmys, and just, they didn't get anything, not even a holler.
That is some bullshit.
It's so insane to me. Because she's fucking phenomenal on screen. She's so riveting.
I haven't been like keeping track of the Emmys at all, even though that's the only award show that I would care about.
Yeah, they came and went and happened already.
Did Insecure win anything?
I don't think so. Oh, no, she did. No, she didn't. I'm getting my stories confused.
Boo.
Yeah, she didn't win anything. Donald Glover won for Atlanta.
That's something I have to watch. Right on.
Oh, it's so good. He won, I think, writing for a comedy, and I don't know if he won an actor award or not. And then the woman who wrote the Thanksgiving episode from the season 2 of Master of None. Did you watch that at all?
No, I watched the first 2 episodes and wasn't really into it. We just kind of never went back to it. I hear it gets better than that, but just
I loved it, and I wasn't a fan of him. I didn't watch. What was he from? Parks and Rec.
Mm-hmm.
I never, I don't really watch that. And when he had a stand-up special that everybody loved, I was like, I can't get over how fucking high-pitched his voice is. It's just too much. It really was. It was just too much for me. I couldn't do it. But then I watched season 1 of Master of None, and it's so good. So when season 2 came, I fucking took care of that in a weekend. And I highly recommend it.
Noted.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And then like your regular HBO things, I think Julia Louis-Dreyfus won again for Veep. She wins every year.
Does she really? God.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, she's won like 7 or 8 Emmys. I think she won every year that Veep was on. She wins that Best Actress in a Comedy slot.
Yeah, I watched that show like for the first like 2 episodes or something, and then she goes on. There's like this huge rant about how she hates being around fat people, and I was like, yeah, I'm done with the show. Bye.
Oh no, don't tell me that. Really?
Yep.
Oh, that's a bummer to hear.
I mean, it's probably like supposed to be part of establishing that parts of her character are garbage.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things that at the time I just found really ugly. I think I was still living in Philly at the time when I watched it. So I wasn't even like starting to really understand some of what fat phobia was about, but I just knew that was fucking me up. So I kind of ended it.
Yeah. I don't know. I never watched Veep. I mean, I'm a huge fan of hers and I like her as an actress. the show seems like something that should be right up my alley.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just never got into it.
Well, if you ever do, let me know if maybe I ended it too harshly with her.
Yeah. I'm sure if I watched it, I would probably end up loving it. But am I going to watch it? I don't know, guys. It's hard to say.
All right, so let's talk about this episode that we did watch. This episode, like you said, is very Nora heavy. And we start off with something that was...
How about that theme song?
I thought I was watching the Babysitter's Club for a second. Like, this was super, like...
Wait, the Babysitter's Club?
Yeah, the theme song to the Babysitter's Club has the same bouncy, synthy sort of 80s sound to it.
Oh, okay.
It's Babysitter's Club. Da-da-da-da. You know, like, it just felt super 80s, early 90s kind of sound to it. And there's another song later that has this sound again.
Well, they use the same song a couple of different times through the episode.
Okay, maybe that's what I was thinking.
Just arranged differently. Like, it's the same. The theme song is playing again in the car when Nora is driving from the playground. And she's having a little breakdown, but it's just like piano. It's the same song. You know what that song is, right?
No, what is it?
That is the theme song from Perfect Strangers.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
So
yeah, I did not know that. I think I watched that show a little bit with my parents when I was like really young, but I don't remember it at all.
Oh, that's a shame. Because the episode title is "Don't Be Ridiculous."
Is that
which was the catchphrase of the character Balky on the show? That was like that was his Urkel's "Did I do that?" You know, that was his thing. So yeah.
Oh, there's so many jokes going right over my head because I didn't know this show. All right.
So do you remember them introducing what happened with the Perfect Strangers cast in the earlier seasons of The Leftovers?
I did. Once they mentioned it and he faked it, I was like, oh, that guy, right.
Right. So the guy we meet is the actual actor from the TV show too.
Yeah. Which was super, like, that threw me a lot. Because they talked about him, and she says that she's going to go, like, check out this like, you know, scam that she thinks he has going. But I just, for some reason, didn't think she would actually, like, meet him. And then when he's, like, the way that he's aged, it's in such a way that you're like, is that? It doesn't look like him anymore. There's a shadow of the face that you recognize buried somewhere. And you start to see it again, but it took me a minute, and I was like, oh. Yeah. Also, that hair.
The show took what could have arguably been a throwaway joke from the first season, when they first tell us that the whole cast poofed. And then you find out, maybe in the second season, that he didn't poof. Right.
Right.
And then to actually bring the actual actor, you know, that they've kind of created this story for to exist in this universe of The Leftovers, that they got the actual actor to come in and be that,
yeah,
you know.
It's like, what was it that they said that he was doing? Like, wasn't he in, like, Mexico or somewhere?
Yeah, they found him living in Mexico.
Oh, dummy.
Yeah. And to be fair, when they do the reveal that he's alive in Mexico, when that happened in the show, there was a video clip on the news. So the actor was already involved in The Leftovers because they have a little clip, right, of him being found out in Mexico with like a fake beard and, you know, a newspaper and, you know, and all that kind of shit. But yeah, it's fucking, they're committed. People behind the show are 100% committed to the story that they're telling. But it opens with the interview with the character played by Brett Butler.
Well, it opens seeing him die and like do a complete backflip off the side of the pillar and hit the ground. Like, that's a pretty brutal thing.
Yeah.
And they show it, and then they're like, And when she's like, he got what he deserved, and then they show it again. I was like, God, okay, I get it, Jesus, you know? But yeah, Brett Butler, I saw her face and I was like, oh shit, because I watched Grace Under Fire a lot as a kid. And you can see immediately that she's lying. She's not a good liar. And it's not just that her story is so outrageous. Like, that in itself, in this show, it's not... People's stories in the show are outrageous that we actually watch happen, so that's hardly it. It's just, she doesn't seem at all shocked by any of this. She's super calm and tells this story about how he got taken up, and it was so beautiful in this incredibly detached way, where if you actually watched a human being vanish before your eyes, you'd be a wreck. And it just, the whole thing is super weird, and Nora's like eyeballing her and asks, what was he doing up there? And she's like, guess. And is really like adversarial about it. And it's really frustrating because, and I this is obviously intentional on the part of the show. She is being kind of like in Nora's face as if Nora's the one that's out of line when she's the one lying.
Yeah.
And Nora's just doing her job. And later on when she's screaming at her that she's a heartless bitch, I'm like, you are about to create a new religion with your bullshit story. Who's the heartless one? You know, just how you're giving a bunch of people false hope and just no. I was totally 100% on Nora's side in all of this. Yeah.
I wonder if the Brett Butler character is, because we know that she, or at least when we first meet her in season 2, she is devout in a really weird way, right? With the whole spanking and you know, all that shit, right? And then she tells Nora that, you know, because Nora's like, oh, he wanted to escape, or he couldn't cope with the suffering, and she's like, no, he went up there for the suffering. We tried to crucify him, and she says that, and I think it's 100% believable that they tried to crucify him, and you know, they got one nail in before the cops showed up. And I wonder if the reason the story she's telling, she's not believable when she tells a story about him disappearing, is because she's not really somebody who lies.
Okay.
And so when she has this sort of performance for Nora, it, you know, it doesn't really, Nora wasn't going to believe her either way, though. I think we need to get that
definitely
out,
not.
You know. But as far as if she played it like it was hard for you to believe, like you said, you think, you know, you feel like she wasn't doing a very good job of lying. If it's because, you know,
she's
really,
just
she's
really secure about it, like
she's just not a liar.
Yeah.
But she is, you know, decided that she's going to tell this lie, you know, as just another act in service to her husband and whatever it was they believe he is meant to do and all. You know, she's so committed to that, but it doesn't make her a good liar.
That's the question that I really have, I think, is like, I would have expected, and I'm just, you know, speaking as what my reaction would be. My husband decides that he's going to climb up on the pillar for years and not shower, or, you know, shits in a bucket or God knows what, and leaves me outside the fence. I'm going to be pissed. And the fact that she, like, continued to respect what he was doing and tried to hide his actual death in order to continue his legacy is just really surprising to me, just because I personally would be very bitter. Right.
I mean, it's that moment in a few scenes where Nora confronts Matt, you know, and he is saying, you know, she never wavered. She stayed devoted to him. He never once acknowledged her existence. And Nora's like, you know, Matt's like, I've never seen anything like it before. And Nora's like, except for when you did it. It's, you know, I mean, granted, Well, you know what? I was getting ready to say it's different because Mary was incapacitated, medically. But you think it's not her fault, right? It wasn't a choice she made.
Right.
But I guess if you're a person of faith, like, and you love someone who's also a person of that type of faith, and they tell you, I've been called to do this thing, you probably react to it as though it's out of, it's not my husband making this decision to leave me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess that's
It
true.
might as well be, as immovable as a medical condition, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. And I guess that's really fundamentally what it is that she just has a completely different, relationship with faith.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm somebody who's very much like, bullshit, you chose to do this. Stop acting like you had no control over it, because that shit pisses me off. So, yeah. Anyway, so she starts interviewing other people after that.
Yeah. And then the story kind of starts to unravel.
Mm-hmm.
And there's mention of a preacher, thank God for the preacher. And Nora gets this look in her eye. Yeah.
I love there's one guy who's like, he just popped like a bubble. And I'm like, you guys couldn't even get your story straight on how he vanished? Come on. But yeah. So she goes and talks to Matt, and he's over here with a bloody nose, which I was like, she's not asking any questions about that, which is weird to me. But I have questions myself about that. Because he's on the floor scrubbing the carpet while he's talking to her, just there's, and I don't know if she even realized that he was bleeding from the nose when she got there, but if you see someone cleaning blood out of their carpet when you get there, and his wife just left town, listen, I'd be fucking suspicious.
Right. Well, they say sometimes you don't ask questions because you don't want to hear what the answer is.
That's true.
What do you think happened? Do you think he just got punched in the face again?
I feel like it seems like he got punched, but it doesn't look like there was furniture in disarray or anything.
Mm-hmm. His face wasn't bruised at all, though.
No.
Oh.
And honestly, the first thing that came to mind, and this is kind of a messed up idea, and I'm not sure if this is a thing, but the first thing that came to mind was how Mary was ill. She got better. Did he take on something in exchange for her getting well, and not even necessarily voluntarily? Is this something that's going to progress and get worse? Was having her around keeping him healthy? Because there's a weird dependence thing that happens in this show a lot of the time. And it could be totally psychological too. But yeah, I don't know.
I like that idea that, the thing where they say, one can go, but another has to take its place.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
What pops up a lot in fantasy, I think.
Only death can pay for life. But yeah. So I don't know. I'm just curious about that. And Nora comes in and he's like, are you mad about the book? And she's like, what book? Oh my God, Nora, I love you so much. She just takes the wind right out of his sails. He's sputtering the book, I thought he'd tell you about the book. And she's like, oh yeah, no, I'm staying out of it. I love her so much.
She has a couple of, when she sees fucking John Murphy.
I found it in the bathroom. Oh my God. That is the best shade I've ever seen. Because she says it all with a smile. So that, she's just so good at fucking with people.
She's really good at it because she's terrible inside.
Oh, God. She's the kind of person that I would, love being friends with until she turned that shit on me, and I would not be able to take it at all. I would be such a bad sport about it. Oh, my God. So, yeah, she gets him to finally admit that, he covered up this fucking heart attack and fall.
Yeah. And it's funny because he gets so fucking self-righteous. I did not lie. When like 2 minutes ago, you lied.
You did lie. He's acting like because I made a promise to somebody that it doesn't count that I lied. That's not how lying works, Matt.
You think Matt would know that, the fine points about lying?
I just
consider how well versed he is in the Bible, but
like I've heard some gymnastics around the wording of things and stuff, but this is a new one and a really bad. Like it's so poorly constructed.
It's like he's trying to lean on the whole, you know, like it was more of a lie of admission than a real lie,
right?
But she asked him when she comes to the house what happened to the guy.
Yep.
And he says, he doesn't say he departed.
He says, it was my understanding that he departed, which is a lie. You understand exactly what happened.
Exactly.
Like, what are you talking about? She took care of him every single day, even though he never acknowledged her, never gave her a word of thanks. So he respects her and is doing this on her behalf. And it's just like, I mean, it as Nora is quick to point out, this is you doing something for this woman because you're mad that your wife left after you did all this and took care of her and did everything.
Yeah. And then that you identify with what this woman has been through and what she's done. And you feel like she should get thanks from someone. In the same way he feels like he should be getting thanked from someone, namely Mary.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, and like, dude, I'm really sorry that you made your wife into a fucking prop for your own agenda, but I'm not sorry, and get lost. Matt pisses me off so much. Matt really is, he reminds me of my dad in that he seems like a person with a generally good heart who really does want the right things for the right reasons a lot of the time. But he loses sight of the actual humanity of other people in search of the answer or the agenda that he's after, and lets that fall by the wayside to the point where you have lost track of the actual important part here, dude. And that's, my dad was so bad about that. It was like, I get what you want, Dad, but he would just completely like bury himself in church and work, and I would never see him, and he would donate all his money to the church, so we didn't have the money for me to buy like school supplies and stuff because he'd given all our money away. And it was just, you know, like, we're your family, what the fuck? And that's how I feel about Matt a lot of the time, is that he's like, well, I did everything for Mary because I wanted her to be better, but then once she's better and he's supposed to be enjoying the fact that she's well, he isn't with her. He has a cause now. And she's like, just like I said, a prop in that.
Yeah. Matt is a good example of when, like you said, someone can be earnest and sincere, but really lose sight of they get so focused on the bigger picture that they lose sight of what's right in front of them. And also, Matt is, a lot of what is going on with Matt is working out his own shit, like everyone else, you know? And he's working out his shit through the lens of what it means to be a person of faith. Like, and what does that look like? It looks like that I never bend, right? I have to be rigid in my faith. I can never, like, have doubt. Even when there's a million things for me to doubt, I can never be sympathetic to other people's doubt.
Yeah, the idea that faith has to be completely devoid of any doubt is nonsensical. Like, that's the whole point is, to me, the way I interpret faith is that you have all kinds of fucking doubts, but you continue on anyway. Even though you acknowledge that there are things that could go wrong, and you acknowledge that I might be making the wrong choice here purely because I am misunderstanding the direction I think I'm being pushed in, or whatever. Because, you know, whenever any divine command is filtered through a human brain, it's going to be up for all kinds of problems.
Yeah, and there's no room for that in Matt's brain. You know, there's just only like tunnel vision forward.
Yeah.
Without looking around to like know, like he doesn't see his marriage falling apart that's happening like right in front of him. Doesn't see how unhappy his wife is because he doesn't even see her really anymore.
Right.
She's just another symbol from God to Matt about Matt.
Right.
And his relationship with God. She's not even like a real person anymore.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is a shame because, you know, Matt is not let me see. I was going to say, unlikable. But it's more than that. Like, I love everybody on the show. Like, all the characters.
Right.
Even though they're all, like, you know, flaming piles of garbage. You know, deeply broken, emotional, you know, puddles of people.
Right.
I really am in love with each character. It's hard for me. Even when I'm being critical, it's almost like I'm being critical from love. You know?
Yes.
So I do. I love Matt too. And that's what makes his character so frustrating.
Agreed.
For me personally.
Yeah, and there are occasional moments with him, as there were with my dad, where it seems like he comes out of it for a second. And he's great when he manages that, you know, like for a second you're like, you know what, Matt, you're an okay dude, but he just doesn't get to stay out of it for very long. And it's just hard to watch. It really is hard to watch. Everybody
for Matt is just another piece for him to get closer to God.
Yeah. And him writing this book is perfect because he clearly thinks that he's living in some sort of allegory.
Yeah. And he's using Kevin in much the same way he's used Mary.
It makes me think of, like, you ever heard of that Truman Show syndrome?
The what now?
Truman Show syndrome.
Oh, vaguely.
It's a mental disorder in which you believe that everything that's happening around you has been constructed to trick you. And that none of it's actually real, and that everyone is playing a part, and it's all fake.
Oh, and it's like a real thing that people are getting diagnosed with?
Yeah, yep. It's kind of like The Matrix, but what if it was just that Neo had a mental problem? And I feel like on some level, Matt has this a little bit, where, like you said, he doesn't seem to see people as real people. Events that happen are all like parts of a story to him. Mm-hmm. And when he's able to break out of it and be cool, it feels like once he gets back to this, it's almost like he has to punish himself for allowing himself to function like a regular person ever. Mm-hmm. Like he considers himself the narrator or something. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just such a huge ego thing. It's enormously egotistical. Despite all of the assurances that I try to be humble because I don't have control over any of this. Like, come on.
Yeah. Well, deciding that you're going to be the one that writes about it is your way of exerting control.
That's enormous. To be like, oh yeah, I have the capacity to basically create another book in the book. The book. What?
Who are you to be adding a book, adding a chapter?
I'm like, oh, you know what? This Bible needs something from me. It really is missing my point of view. Jesus Christ. Pun intended. Anyway, we've barely gotten past like the opening 10 minutes here. So she gets the right answer. He's like, can't you let a man have a little grace? And she's like, lol, no. Which I really wanted to like high five her for. And then she's like up there with Kevin collecting his personal effects, and this is when she fucks with John a little bit.
The two of them, oh my god,
her and
I
Kevin?
love them so much together. They're just first of all, she's having so much fun fucking with anybody who will listen to her about this fucking book.
Kevin left it in the bathroom and I picked it up, and before I knew it, 20 minutes had flown by. It's exciting. Kevin looking at her. I love that John realizes he's being fucked with, but Kevin's looking at her like he really hasn't got it quite yet.
John is like, all right, I'll see y'all later.
Oh, God.
Meanwhile, Kevin is like, but I didn't leave it in the bathroom.
God. Oh, yeah, the two of them are really fun.
And she kissed the lips of Kevin, and it was good.
And lo, it was good. Oh my God, I love it so much. Like this, the way that she and him are with each other kind of reminds me of me and Owen, except me and Owen are much more like, Owen and I are more like a vaudeville married couple act, where we each just like bitch about the other in these like incredibly over the top terms, really loudly for the enjoyment of everybody. Owen will be like, "You're always doing this to me. You're always making me clean the bathroom naked," and he'll suddenly like add this weird thing onto the end of it, and I'm like, and then I have to go with it because he's done the yes and for the improv, and now it's my turn to pick it up. And yeah, I really enjoy the two of them as she prods him and makes fun of him, and he has to like figure out that that's what's happening.
I like to when the crane is lifting them up, they're having this conversation about hampers.
Oh my
Kevin
God,
has
yes.
This system of 3 hampers.
Yes. Listen.
And then he's like, I think you're just jealous.
I swear to God, I never divided my laundry in my life. My mom didn't do it. I didn't do it. Fucking Brendan didn't do laundry at all. And then I move in with Owen, and he's got a lights and darks hamper, and I'm just like, what the fuck? I'm thinking, this is absurd. What? Just wash your clothes. Stop it, you fucking snowflake. And then I washed them together, and his socks were a different color. It does matter. It does matter, Sean. I didn't know.
Even I know that it matters.
Oh my God, I felt terrible. I had to bleach shit. This was the part I thought was weird, though, because he washes his white separately, but he doesn't use bleach.
Well, what's the point of that?
I know! So we taught each other something, because then I started to add bleach to the mix, and then all of a sudden he was like, whoa, what's this? Laundry's a bummer. I hate laundry. Oh, it's the worst part.
Yeah, I don't do it.
So then they go down in their crane to give the wife his effects, and there's a fucking ridiculous painting that looks like
him like floating.
It's like they took a painting of the resurrection from like the Renaissance era, but then they put a really bad like Prisma filter over it.
Oh, it looks terrible.
And they added these like mala beads and just made him look much more hippie-ish.
Yeah, he looks like Jerry Garcia.
Right? He got way more crow's feet than Jesus anyway. And yeah, it's something. And the way that he's like, there's something almost smug about the way that he's looking at you out from the picture. Like he's looking at you like, yeah, I'm going, dummy. You're still there. What a loser. Like you can literally hear him. He's saying peace, but it's like peace, not peace, child. But I'm out.
And fucking Nora is upset.
Oh, she's so
and she sees this fucking picture, and she is about to just fucking about to go all out on everybody. And Kevin has to be like, no, we're not doing it right now.
He says to her, "You are the calmest and nicest person I know." And I was like, Kevin, I'm sorry. If she's the nicest and calmest person you know.
Well, you know, Kevin's seen some shit, so
I guess true.
His scale is very different from our scale.
Oh my God. So she almost she interrupts a prayer circle to be like, do you know what really happened?
He dies.
And he like drags her away, and then she goes and gets her cast taken off.
What did you think of this scene where the doctor is like, one of our orderlies?
I didn't even okay. First of all, I kept thinking that there was something weird about the way that people kept referring to the break, like the fact, not the way that people were talking about it, but the way that it was put into the script and constantly referenced. And I was like, this has to be significant in some way. But then, yeah, he saw you slam your car door on your arm on purpose. And I'm like, of course she did. Okay, now this all makes sense. But I couldn't understand why she would do that. And then I was like, was she just like trying to feel the way that Kevin says later? Was kind of my understanding of it. And then you find out about the whole tattoo thing.
Did you notice the tattoo when she got the cast off?
I noticed there was a tattoo, but I didn't remember if it was something that I had just forgotten she had already or what, When
I first watched this and there's a quick shot, I was like, that's fucking Wu-Tang? And it happened so fast. And I was like, no, it's not. That makes zero sense. Why would it be that?
It's I believe you mean the Wu-Tang band.
Oh my God.
The thing that kills me is that you could get that shit covered with anything. Why would you pick that?
Oh my God.
I have a friend who does tattooing professionally.
She said she thought it was a phoenix.
Oh my God, it's so terrible. Oh, Nora. And now it's a big black square block. Like, you can't cover that up. Forget it. But
unless you're going to cover it with a larger black square block.
Right? Something else that's just as awful. But my friend Sydney does tattoo cover-ups a lot, and it's astonishing what she can pull off. Shit that I'm just like, how are you ever gonna? And she makes these things that I'm like, holy shit. I
know a woman here who, she's an artist, and she does, regular stuff too, but her bread and butter, what she's really gifted at, is cover-ups and corrections, and the before and afters that she posts. Mm-hmm. First of all, the befores, I'm always like, what were you thinking?
Yeah, no shit.
But then I'm always like, then I see the after, I'm like, that's pretty fucking amazing.
I saw one that she had done, and it was, forgive me everybody, but this is truly a tattoo that existed on a man. It was a beautiful naked woman holding an umbrella as cum poured down off of the edge of it.
How did you know it was cum?
You knew it was cum. Trust me.
Oh, that's gross.
It was the worst thing I've ever seen. And unsurprisingly, he wanted to get rid of it.
And I'm trying to imagine, how do you tattoo so that it looks like cum and not just rain?
It had thick, shiny edges that were textured in such a way as to make it clear that it was like a viscous liquid. Yeah, it was awful.
And someone got that on their body. Somebody walked to a place and said, give me the naked lady with the cum covered umbrella.
I was at Six Flags one time, and you see some shit at Six Flags. Let's just, straight up. People talk about people of Walmart, but Six Flags is the place to be if you want to see some weird shit. And I saw a man with a full upper arm tattoo of a woman with cum on her face.
No.
Full color.
What is with all this cum tattoos?
I don't know. Men are obsessed with it. It's bizarre. And the woman was stunning, so I assumed that she was a porn star and not an ex-girlfriend or something, which is even weirder to me. And you're walking around with that shit out in public.
I was gonna say, and he's just walking around in a family-friendly park like that.
Yeah. I remember looking at it and looking away so quickly, like, did I just see what I thought? And then turning and I didn't want him to see me looking at it, because a man like that, man willing to have that, you don't want to catch him seeing you staring at him. That's just, but
you don't want to make eye contact with a person like
exactly. But I was with somebody and I nudged them and I was like, do you see that shit? And I think I was with a dude and he was like, oh my God. I'm like, why though? So, and I mean, and what kills me is it was a gorgeously done tattoo. I mean, it looked like a photograph. Like maybe he had it done pretty recently because the lines were still so clean and everything. But it was beautifully done. It was just of a fucking cum shot. Which just, what a waste. And what artist is like, oh yeah, I'll do that. Like, I guess you just gotta make a living, but I just aren't. Do you have somewhere you draw the line?
Oh my God, draw the line. Get it? You did it, not me.
Moving on. Okay. So she gets a call from this fucking guy. What's his name again?
Mark Lynn Baker.
Mark Lynn Baker?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it was like one whole name, Markolin or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he is saying that there's something that can be done to transport her so that she can see her kids again.
Yeah. Just, do you want to see your children again?
And she's like, you don't know who I fucking am. I'll track your ass down. And he's like, you don't need to. I'll tell you right where I am. And they don't care if you know. And blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, okay. And if you want to see your children, you need to come see me in person. Which is like almost like a ransom note.
Yeah, it was like a terrible Craigslist ad.
Right.
That ends up, on the 6 o'clock news the next day. And you're right. She's all, I'm going to find out who you are. And then she calls her job when they get off the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And, because she knows the name, but she can't, figure out why exactly she knows it.
Right.
And she gets, the authorization to go investigate this, this, what seems like this scam.
Mm-hmm.
Which, it's funny because when you're watching it, when I was watching it anyway, because the episode opens with Nora being like super investigator,
Right.
Part of it feels like, well, yeah, she's going to go fucking track this person down who has the nerve to call her with this bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's another part of you that's like, we all know why you're really going, Nora.
Well, that's the thing is that I was like, well, I know why you're really going because you kind of want to know if it's actually true. And then it turns out that Lily's there. And I'm like, oh, so there's like multiple children that you want to see involved in this thing. Like it's just in general, like trying to get something back, which is just so fucking sad.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So yeah, Balky and the 2 actresses who played their wives lifted on the 14th, and Mark felt left out and ran off to Mexico for 3 years. Felt left out. Bless his heart.
Yeah, they just threw that right on in there, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
So she just rushes off.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin comes home and she's fucking already packed.
Yeah, her boss tries to be like, can this wait? And she's like, I need to go now. And then she says, today. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, Markland says, you got 24 hours if you want to talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, she asked Kevin if she could take the book.
First of all, he walks in with her packing her bags, which I'm sure is like a little jarring. Like, oh, okay. And he's like, is everything okay?
Yeah.
Were you just not going to say anything and walk out the door then?
It seems like it. Like she could have called him.
Yeah,
at any
right.
point. Like, hey, I'm going to be in. But nope, he walks in and she's packing suitcases.
Yeah, she tells him where she's going, but I guess he doesn't know that she's been tracking Lily and doesn't know, like, which is a little bit surprising. I would think that he would just want to know also. Just
Well, it's not only because Jill asked Kevin in the first episode, do they ever talk about Lily? And Kevin says no.
But, like, that's why I would think that he would be looking it up on his own, because they don't talk about it. Do you know what I mean?
No, I just figured Kevin doesn't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole.
I guess not. Yeah, I just always think of things in, like, the terms of how I would handle it. And I'm just so curious about stuff that even if I'm not discussing it with somebody, I often, like, will look into it myself, just purely out of curiosity. But, like, I guess he is, like you said, just wanting to completely not be anywhere near this. I
mean, yeah, again, I have to say, like, sometimes people don't ask questions because they don't want to hear the fucking answer. You know, it's like, because you're right, like, especially as a cop, too. You know? So the fact that Kevin, it seems like, is not aware of this at all as far as Nora's penchant for going to try to see Lily, that has to be a willful choice, you know?
Right.
Like, I'm sure his instinct is to, you know, be curious about it. And I'm sure he even has the means to find out about it if he really wanted to.
Oh, definitely. I mean, he's a cop. Yeah.
You know, but it's don't ask, don't tell. He's just like, we're not going to talk about that shit. Everything is fine here. What are you talking about? Everything is fine.
So she goes down to the airport, and will you be traveling with an infant on your lap?
How terrible is this?
Oh my God. This is like, it's one of those things that is it's so heavy-handed, and on the one hand, but on the other hand, it's so fucking, like, it's such a thing that happens. Have you ever had this happen where just a particular thing just goes wrong in such a way that it feels, like, personal? Like, it just, so it's like, it kind of feels heavy, and on the other hand, I'm just sort of like, yeah, this also seems totally true. You know? And this woman just telling her to click yes because it doesn't matter.
Right. And
she's like, no.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because like in that, it doesn't really matter. But also, no, I'm not going to just click yes. And that response seemed completely reasonable to me.
Agreed. Completely.
You know, it really doesn't make any sense. Like, just fucking hit the button so you can finish your check-in.
It feels like Nora feels like she's being pushed around. And she's just not here for this. Nope.
Yeah. That's an accurate assessment, I think, of the entire episode.
Yeah, exactly.
You know. And you know, too, when I first watched this, the first time I watched it, I didn't even realize what question the machine was acting up on. It wasn't until the second time I watched it. I may have watched them twice that night, or maybe I watched it like the next day after it aired. I realized that it glitched on the baby question, which is, I don't know how I missed it because it flashes right back to her holding Lily. But somehow I just didn't catch it. And when I caught it, I was just like, oh my fucking God, come on.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and she has this, that whatever that weird glitchy thing is, happens to her a couple more times throughout the episode. And it made me think back to remember when they tried to convince Nora that she was the reason that her family departed?
Yeah, I think about that a lot, actually. Just, yeah. I kept thinking of, actually, there was this kind of running joke because was it you that I was recording with one day and we were talking about our grandparents with computers and what a nightmare that would be?
Yeah, that was me.
So my grandmother had this weird thing where electronics of any kind would break around her if they were left in her house long enough. I have a feeling it was a combination of her house was trash, so there was probably like too much moisture in the air and crap. Also, I feel like surge protection was practically non-existent. But we didn't want to teach her how to use a computer, and we were also all very confident that whatever computer we gave her would be unusable within about a year. And this reminded me of that a little bit, where my mom kind of low-key suggested to me one time that my grandmother just had such a negative force field around her that she would fuck up electronics. And I'm like, Nora, you got some of my grandma's force field going on there, where you're just like so miserable that you like short circuit things. Yeah, you know? Because, I mean, this actress really does kind of project this dourness.
Oh my God.
You know?
There's like this cloud.
Yeah.
That follows her, you know. It's you could almost see it, you know. It's really insane that somebody can pull that off. But it really does, like, later on in the episode when she storms out of her car, holy fuck.
Oh my God, yeah. That was great. I love the dude behind the wheel just puts his hand up like, oh shit, right. I wasn't ready.
I had to put my car in reverse so fucking fast.
I know, right? Yeah, see, just seeing her get up out of her car and start walking towards me, I'm like, all right, put the window up, put the window up.
Fucking him like the fucking Terminator.
Great. But that shit drives me nuts. You're behind somebody, you see them struggling with the machine, and you're beeping at them because they clearly don't know that they're supposed to be. What the fuck do you think you're helping with? Shut up. Anyway, so she goes and meets up with Marklin Baker, and he looks like a high school music teacher.
Yeah, in his new suit.
Oh,
he fucking throws her phone in the toilet, which I think is a little bit much.
I would have decked him in the fucking face. Unless you're about to hand me $700 cash right the fuck now to replace my phone. Yeah. I would have broken his face. Yeah. She does not have nearly enough of a reaction.
It's like almost, you know, I don't even know. It's like 8 months later and I'm still really irritated by that.
He says everything that matters is in the cloud now. Not my fucking money to pay for my phone is not in the cloud, you fucking motherfucker. There goes a person who doesn't understand people who don't have money.
Right. Oh, everybody's got the insurance, I guess. Okay.
Son of a bitch. I'm so pissed. That shit just made me so mad. And it made me mad that she didn't get mad enough.
Phone, and I was pissed.
Mm-hmm. Listen, I had to pay my phone off for like a year and a half because I got this phone right after I moved out and in with my mom, and my computer had died. So this phone was going to be like my whole thing, my whole deal. And I was like, you know what?
Run your podcast empire from your phone.
I was going to try. Do you remember how I tried to do that?
I do.
I thought it could work. And I think now with the tools that we have now, it could work now. Because Spreaker has like a recorder that's from your phone that posts directly from there to your feed, your Spreaker feed. So I think now I could actually make it work.
But they didn't have that shit.
They did not. And, but I still was like, all right, I'm going to get the biggest, baddest phone they've got because I can't fuck around. And, I got the big old iPhone 6 Plus, that giant thing, and it's still working great. So I at least feel like I got my money's worth. And if somebody threw this old ass phone in the toilet, I would lose my goddamn mind. I would lose my mind. I would forget all about what I was here for. There would be security called to the room because I was throwing such a fit that the other guests would be like, there's a woman screaming in a pitch for like bat ears. And I think I just heard somebody go flying through the window pane. Anyway, he talks to her about radiation for like 10 minutes.
And she's looking at him. Yeah, tell me more. Oh, really? That's very interesting. Oh, neutrons? Okay.
Mm-hmm. And he says that there was some like footprint, a shadow, that if they could make more of this type of radiation that was discovered at scenes, they could blast things with the radiation, the same kind from the footprint, and it would go to wherever those people had gone.
Right, that's the
This is the
theory.
biggest nonsensical thing I ever heard. This is like if I burned a pizza to a crisp in the oven and somebody was like, well, you've got all this charcoal from the pizza that had been a pizza. If you just rub this all over this other thing and stick it in the oven, it'll become a pizza.
Well,
Like-
not a pizza here, but a pizza, you know, wherever your pizza goes after you burn it to a crisp,
Pizza heaven. I'm sure there's 1,000 Pizza Heavens in a chain across America. That's where they go whenever they're burned. They just show up in the chain Pizza Heaven. They have like no overhead because they just get free pizzas all the time from people burning them.
But it can't be. How can it be heaven if all the pizzas burn?
They aren't burned when they arrive in Pizza Heaven.
Oh, okay. I see how it works.
Yeah, it's just we wind up with the husk dried and sad on our end, and we weep with grief for our loss. But somewhere they live on and are enjoyed. I'm about to Google this.
My family dies. I'm going to think, oh, but they're in heaven eating pizza. So it's okay.
Pizza Heaven Bistro, Phoenix, Arizona, Greenwich, Rhode Island, Williamstown, New Jersey, Spring Mills, Pennsylvania. Oh my God, I'm so excited.
Are you reading a list of chains called Pizza
Pizza
Heaven?
Heaven. Yep.
Oh my God.
Oh man, I really want to eat it one now. But yeah, anyway, so he's just like, whatever this, when they disappeared, it left behind, we'll just chuck that shit at human beings, and then they'll go there too.
Right. They'll disappear from here, and it only makes sense that they are now at the other place.
I don't even know what to say about this. Like, it's just the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And he's like, I've got two PhDs from Yale or whatever the fuck. There's a Nobel laureate on here. Listen, people with education are fucking dumb sometimes. Whatever.
So you're not a big fan of this theory, clearly.
No.
So I don't really need to ask you a bunch of probing questions.
Also, I got bothered that Nora doesn't ask more questions because she's like, well, what they're doing is they're incinerating them. They're not sending them to some magical place. And he like kind of laughs knowingly, like, oh, well, of course you have doubts. But she doesn't ask like, well, what happens though? Literally, what happens when you do this? What's left? What happens to is there a body left?
Okay, wait. I'm trying to think. Because I think it's pretty clear that, like, when she says that they incinerate them, you know, I think that the assumption is that they are literally being, like, you know, burnt to a crisp. There's nothing left.
But there's always something left. There's ash, at least.
But I don't know enough about radiation or
That's
whatever.
what I mean, though. That's what I mean.
No.
I doubt that she does either. And she should be asking this. Is there ash left? Because my family wasn't ash. They were just gone. You know,
That's a
like,
good point.
this is the kind of shit that I would be asking. Just like, how can you compare these things when the residue that you, like the shadow, as you call it, isn't what happens when you send people off with this same thing that you're claiming is like what happened to them? That should have the same outcome of them just having cleanly vanished off the face of the earth. And if that's not what's happening, then clearly it's not the same thing.
Well, I think that I want to say that he tells her that that the other people who are going to call can explain to her more of what happens. That he only knows what he has written down on his notepad.
Right.
So I think she understands that he can't really answer any of her questions. He can only read to her what he has. And then also, I want to say that because she's acting like she thinks it's complete and total bullshit, she's the one that shifts the conversation away from the particulars to what she thinks is wrong with him.
Right.
Which is what makes him give his little speech.
Right.
Because she calls him suicidal.
Yeah.
So yeah, in this moment, she's definitely not trying to drill down to what's really happening in this human microwave machine. Because she's so focused on this guy that's in front of her that she thinks is insane and possibly needs help.
And he gives her 119 testimonials. It doesn't count as a testimonial if they haven't done it yet.
That is a fair point.
Am I crazy?
It's 119 intentions.
It's 119 schmoes taking a pledge on camera. But that's like you interview me about how I like a movie before I've seen it. And I'm like, well, I have freely chosen to see this movie. I've paid my own personal money to the tickets, to the ticket holders. I bought the tickets of my own free will. And they fucking put that in the commercial, and they're like, people have paid money for these tickets. Look how good this movie is.
Right.
Like,
and they're not holding us responsible for if the movie's going to be good or not. They say it right up front.
It's just like, because when she plays that, I was expecting something. I was at least expecting a video of them doing this procedure on somebody. And they don't. They just have them reading their thing. And I was like, this is nothing.
So that's interesting because you're right. On its face, it's not very convincing at all. They're not telling you anything about what's happening. You get no information about what happened because it's just people before they do the thing. So what? And you gotta imagine that whoever put this thumb drive together has got to know that it's not convincing just because you have people holding up newspapers and saying that they're willingly doing this thing. So is it the way that people look in the video? Like maybe their expressions or whether or not they seem excited or somehow more at peace now that they've made this decision to do this thing?
I guess. Like, that's so weak, though. And there's nothing to say that you couldn't just hire a bunch of actors.
That's true.
And just be like, act really excited because you're gonna finally see your mother that died 2 years ago. Done.
Do you think so? All right, so she decides, and we know by the end of this episode she's made a decision to go to Australia.
Right.
Why do you think she made the decision to go? What do you think she's doing?
I think she's like me in that I don't buy this shit at all, but I need to know what the fuck they're doing because this is crazy and possibly killing people. Like they're committing murder for thousands and thousands of dollars.
Like if these people, of all those people that she just watched, really did get into this weird contraption, then she basically just saw 119 murder victims.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely, if I had the means and I had been told about something like this, I would definitely want to go.
How about Nora got 20 grand just in the bank? Didn't
I know.
She spend all her money buying that house?
I don't know how money works in this world.
I don't either. Me and Steven were just talking about that before we started recording. We were talking about somebody we knew and amount of money that they had available to them to do a thing. And we were both just like, how though? Like how?
Yeah.
I'm terrible at life, guys.
It's stunning how, as you get older, you realize that your relationship with money is your very particular relationship with money. Like, I just can't understand the mindset that some people have around it of just being, there's just things I don't get. There was a friend of mine, who writes fan fiction. And I guess people were asking her if she was going to sell it. And she posted a status that was like, if I have one more person ask me if I'm going to monetize my fic, I'm going to get so annoyed. Money is not what drives me. Maybe it drives you, but not me. And I'm like, listen, and she's usually somebody who really gets it, but it was just one of those tone deaf moments of, yeah, she doesn't know what that is. Like, because she had posted something about, like, she posted a receipt of how much she spent at like a Sephora one time, and it's like several $100s. So she's somebody that has means and she's comfortable. And so she made this statement that felt really condescending. And I know she didn't mean it that way, but she just really doesn't understand that sometimes people monetize their shit, not because it's what drives them, but because they fucking need money.
Right.
That's what it is. It's just they need to eat to live.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, there's a very gross sort of delicate genius kind of thing that can come along sometimes with people, you know, who create anything really. And I know, I mean, if you don't want to sell your shit because it means something to you, that's totally fine. However, I don't know if I don't really appreciate that kind of tone that you're talking about.
Exactly. That was and like I said, it's somebody who normally is really careful about that kind of thing. And I saw that and I was just like, really? And I almost like commented and then I was just like, I'm just not interested in doing this. But it definitely made me feel some kind of way. I would just be like, oh, it must be really nice not to be driven by it because you have everything you need always. But, you know, I just didn't want to get into it.
Yeah, and it's different for different people, you know. Like, there are certain, I mean, I guess you can find it in all genres or whatever, but, you know, particularly in sort of like underground or any kind of like subculture, you see it a lot in music, you know, especially like indie music, where, you know, that the fucking don't sell out kind of mentality, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, dude, whatever, you better sell whatever the fuck you can.
Right?
What are you even talking about right now?
Yeah. And, like, I understand if you want to keep some integrity to your work, if it's, like, a question of taking a stand on something that you don't believe in just because you're getting paid for it. And it's something that's, like, kind of a crucial part of being who you are. That is a different thing. But just, like, you know, taking advantage of the opportunities that you have. And that everybody has their own priorities and their own circumstances, and that's fine. And yes, money is what drives me at the moment, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that in that have come to terms with it. I am not fine with that in that I wish I could be doing it for other reasons, but I also love what I do. So I'm able to have both and not just be driven to do something I hate because of money, which is certainly the situation for many people.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I think irritates me the most when people make those types of statements. Because it only ever applies to what people think are, you know, precious things, right? Like, so it's totally fine and okay to, you know, sell my time at my bullshit job. That's considered American, right? Like, maybe my time is just as precious to me as your fan fiction is to you. Maybe I don't want to fucking sell out either. But guess what?
Right.
You know, but if I were to put a post up, you know, my time is too precious for a job.
Right, exactly.
You know, then people would probably rightfully tell me to, you know, go fuck myself. But, you know, anywho, all right. So then their scene just sort of ends.
Yeah.
Right. And we see her
Oh, and I did want to mention, too, that he says, I'm trying to get some fucking control. And I'm like, yeah, dude, obviously that's what you're doing. Like, that's not news. That's what everybody was trying to do, really, you know?
Yeah. That's what everybody is trying to do. In all their different little ways, you know. Every character on the show, every person I've ever met, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I really did like him in this scene, though. I thought he really killed it. And he does have 2 degrees from Yale.
Nice. Yeah, so she goes and watches all these fucking fake-ass testimonials and then smokes a cigarette down to the nub.
This hotel scene, because I'm such a dork and I worked for them for so long, I was like, you're putting the foil over the smoke detector, but you're not putting a wet towel down at the door? What are you doing? What are you doing right now?
Oh, you know, I was thinking about that. I'm pretty sure it's safe to talk about this here because Owen doesn't listen to this show. But guys, if you chat with Owen at all off of the show, don't tell him, okay? I'm planning on doing a surprise makeover to his office for his birthday because it's been a disaster for months and he keeps wanting to do it, but he never has time or else he's exhausted. And Owen loves to smoke cigars, but the house smells like an old bowling alley if he smokes in the house. It's fucking awful. I hate it, and I don't want to hate it because he doesn't want to smoke often. It's not like he smokes a cigar a day. He'll smoke one a week, one every couple weeks while he reads a comic and has a chai latte. He's very chill. So I want to, like, be okay with him doing that, but it stays in the house for days after. It's not like it's just you smoke it, it smells bad in here, but once you're done, it's gone. It goes on for a minute. And is a regular stop, like one of those draft stoppers at the bottom of the door, enough, or does it have to be a wet towel? Like what to keep it from leaking out of his office? I'm gonna get one of those window fans that does the expel air settings. I'm gonna get a regular fan so that he can put it on the other side of him to push the smoke towards the expel air fan. I was gonna get him one of those under the door thingies.
Well, I'm going to be honest. I don't know what under the door thingy you're talking about.
You've never seen those draft stoppers?
Yeah, no. Oh, you just mean the little snaky things.
Yeah, you know.
Oh, no. For the smoke, you want to go with like a wet towel.
Oh,
I think.
The snaky things, they have like a modern version of it where it's 2 snaky things and then like a memory foam bottom. So they're like parallel next to each other. And you open your door and slide the whole thing under your door. And it just stays there all the time if you have like a wood floor. And you can still continue to open and close your door and it stays and moves with the door. So there's one on either side of it when the door is closed. Can you picture what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So I thought that might be enough, but I guess not. I mean, there's probably no way to just like keep the smoke out of the house. Like, that's just probably impossible. I think I might just have to come to terms with that.
I mean, if you just put a towel down outside the door while he's in there.
That's it?
I mean, is it the aesthetic that's bothering you?
No, it's mostly, I think, that he works as a janitor. His family owns a janitorial service, and he's like the manager. And he gets really bajiggity about wet things on the wood floors.
Oh,
because it can damage them. So I feel like he's not going to want to do that.
Well, it's not going to be sopping wet or anything.
It's just
But I don't know. You guys will work it out.
I just thought maybe you had some insight on how to keep smoke out of places. That's all.
I just know that because your giveaway, and then we'll get back to the show because I know people are not interested in this at all. But the giveaway for when you're smoking in your hotel room is always going to be other people on the floor.
Okay.
That's what gives you away. People can smell it, you know, and they call down to the desk and complain. That's what gives you away.
Gotcha. All right, so I just won't call down to the desk and complain. So then Nora goes to the park. Somehow she knows exactly where Lily is going to be.
Is this ain't her first rodeo?
And what time she'll be there and the whole
Ain't
thing.
her first rodeo.
Yeah, apparently not.
She is stalking that Facebook page. She even says it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So she knows.
And she becomes all mama bear when she sees some kid steal the sand shovel away from Lily and comes up and yells at him, and he very begrudgingly gives it back.
Yeah, because she's completely unhinged.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of the reveal of where Lily is?
It was done in such a way that I thought for a second that that this wasn't really Lily.
Oh.
I thought that she had maybe some place that she had taken her kids or something that she went and visited still, and that she saw a little girl that looked a lot like Lily. This boy steals the shovel, and she feels protected because of how the girl looks, but not that she's really her. I think it was a combination too. Like the last time we saw Lily, she was a baby, and I forget that there was the time jump because nobody else seems to have really aged the same way. Because obviously when you're a baby, 4 years means a whole lot more than when you're a grown up. So once I realized, when she says, "Who are you?" and Nora's face looks like she's going to literally die.
Oh my God.
I was like, oh. And then Christine comes up and has another baby. And I thought that she had died, I think.
Christine?
Yeah, like, did we know what happened to her for sure?
No, she just ditched them. She just left.
That's what it was. So I think I had assumed that she probably had wound up dead or something. But she's alive, and apparently, as we find out later, she fought for custody. And this is one of those things that gets me, like, so upset. And it's not like I feel like it's wrong, but I just feel so bad for everybody involved. Mm-hmm. Because there was, like, I have some friends who had a foster kid, and this kid was fucked up from being in an abusive household with a shitty father. They took this kid on as a foster kid for like 4 years, fell in love with him, and then all of a sudden his father pops back up and tries to get the kid back. 4 years later, like, what the fuck? And yeah, he's his dad, but also maybe you lost the privilege of being his dad after you fucking ditched him.
Yeah.
And Christine, it's like, but she was also in this ridiculous situation. Like, what a crazy situation. Yeah. Where you're with a guy who you think might be, like, have a superpower or something. Mm-hmm. Tells you that you're the one carrying his child when it turns out there's a bunch. Yeah.
And you're very young.
Yeah. And then you have to, like, be on the run with, like, a chaperone and live in hotels and shit, and you never know if he's going to show up again. Like, so on the one hand, I'm like, she fucking left that baby. On the other hand, I'm like, yeah, she left that baby. She was fucking terrified, Yeah. So, but Nora already lost her kids. And so for her to come and take that baby away after everything that Nora went through just feels so unnecessarily cruel.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's because there's not an easy bad guy, Like, it would be super easy if you could just be like, oh, fuck Christine,
right?
And like your first impulse might even be to say that because she bailed, but then you think about the circumstances of everything. And it's hard to maintain that kind of, well, fuck her then.
Yeah.
I feel like you have to have some compassion. And I don't know if when Tommy and Nora have their conversation in the car, does she say whether or not they fought for the baby, for Lily?
She says that she specifically says, did I fight for her? No, I didn't.
Right. So what if so you wonder, like, if they had have pursued it, maybe there's a chance she could have could have kept her.
I bet she could have, being in a like financially stable situation, being who she is and having lost her own kids. If she wanted to leverage that, I bet she could have done it.
Right.
But like she specifically tells, what's his name? Tommy, that she saw a woman who had lost her child. Like she felt for Christine because of her own situation and losing her kids. So rather than leveraging that to get what she wanted, that gave her some empathy and let her let go of Lily for what she thought was, you know, Lily's best interest.
Which turned out to be something that she cannot live with.
Yeah, I mean, like...
because, you know, she had the 2 kids taken from her and then she just let one go. Yeah, it's fucking heartbreaking all around, really.
Yeah, it's awful.
And I mean, I don't want to. We'll get to Tommy's scene, I guess, in a minute or so. But yeah, Tommy was just there with all kinds of facts, and like hurtful, harsh truths. Right?
Yeah, Tommy's like. I was kind of impressed with when she's like business trip, and he's like, business trip. Like, all right, he's just gonna say that shit.
Right. As soon as he says that, she's like, ah, fuck, she called you.
And her, like, little breakdown when she goes and gets in the car and throws the shovel out the door and everything. And then she has to go and to the, you know, get her own car out of the airport parking lot and flips out, car horns honking behind her, trying to use this thing and it won't work. I mean, everybody has had days like this where nothing goes smoothly. Yeah. And one particular thing has already been bothering you. And then nothing goes smoothly on top of that thing. And you're just like, the world can burn.
Yeah. She's got like multiple things that haven't gone right for her for a very long time.
Yep.
And every time we see her, every time we see Nora, she's like a breath away from this outburst that we finally see when she's at that gate. You know, she almost has it in town with the praying people, and Kevin kind of like, you know, ushers her away. You know, she's close in the airport. She kind of like, you know, takes a deep breath and asks for a different kiosk. You know, she just keeps getting really close to doing this. And then finally, that gate was just sort of like the last straw.
You know what she needs? She needs a fucking fight club. That's what she needs. She needs somewhere that she can go and just go ape and
she had the bulletproof vest deal for a while.
Yeah, but that's not visceral. That's somebody like who doesn't really want to, but took your money, shooting you, and you fall down and you get up and whatever.
But it's very passive.
Yeah, she needs to be throwing fists and getting punched and losing it. That's what she needs. Or she needs that place that I told you that I wanted to invent where you pay for a stack of plates and go in a room and throw them against the wall. Soundproof room, throw plates, pay $20 for a stack of like plates, and get some safety goggles, a little jumpsuit. It's like keeps you from getting cut from all the flying shards. And just go in that room and just
go to town,
while out and throw plates and scream and whatever.
I just call that room my kitchen.
I didn't want to say anything, but the fact that you are always eating off paper plates makes a lot more sense now. Don't have any more plates left.
Was I going into the kitchen and taking every plate out of the cabinet and broken it? Not every plate.
Oh, God. Yeah, I've definitely done things like that.
Feels good, though.
And when somebody isn't that kind of person and you start doing that, they get freaked out. Like, because I remember when I was living with Brendan and I had to like flip out on something and I just picked something up and threw it so hard that it was just kind of too much. And that shit exploded on one wall and he was just like, what the fuck? And I was like, what? So I broke something. Like, I was like even more irritated by his reaction than I was at the thing I had originally been mad at. Me. Anyway. So then she drives straight from there to what's her face's house, who we haven't seen. Erica, who is unsurprised to see her. So apparently she comes here a lot. Like
it seems like they have a relationship, yeah.
Yeah.
Like that they've kept in close touch. Nora even says that she was missed at Tommy's birthday party.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's like an inside joke of theirs or if it really does mean that sometimes Erica does come and they are all just one big, happy family.
Yeah.
Able to like socialize in that way, which part of me would like to believe that's exactly what it is and that was a sincere statement when she tells her that.
Yeah, it's the whole dynamic between them is just so surprising. I'm really glad that I'm just glad that we get to have more scenes of the two of them together, really.
They are so fucking bananas great together.
Right?
I mean, man, we were so lucky to have this show.
Yep.
We really were. And in this scene is, it starts off, I mean, just the way Erica's face is when she sees Nora, because you're right, she's not like shocked that Nora's at her door.
Mm-hmm.
But she registers immediately that like Nora is like a mess.
Yeah.
Right. And she just takes her into this big hug and yeah, you just get all the feels. And this is when Nora finally tells the truth about what happened to her arm.
Yeah, she tries to put her off a little bit, but it's clear that she wants to talk to her about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that Erica needs to push her a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she shows her the Wu-Tang Band tattoo. And it was originally a tattoo of her children's names.
Yeah. She starts by telling the story that she had broken her leg the day after the departure, which is not anything that we knew before.
Right.
So that there was a picture of her in the paper talking about how her family disappeared and she's on crutches. Mm-hmm. And the headline is Nora Cursed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she tries to laugh about it, and she's like just about to break down.
Yeah, it's that like almost like crazy laugh that you do when you're really about to just like pull your hair out. Yeah. Not that I know anything about that personally. Yeah.
And she realized after she was just finishing the tattoo that having their names right there was going to prompt a constant repeated conversation. Mm-hmm. Oh, what a nice tattoo. Who are Aaron and Jeremy? And I would have to say, they're my children. I'm Nora Cursed. Yeah. Ask me about my poor departed children.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's yeah. Yep.
Basically. It's because, and it's, when you think about like the idea of just getting a tattoo, right, for people you love, people that are gone, is so common.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't think anyone has ever, or maybe they have, I haven't, and I've never met anyone who expressed this kind of thing, where you don't get the tattoo, of your loved one because to relay the story makes you feel pathetic, right? It's just not a kind of a thing that we don't make that association, right? It is, it's okay to do that in real life, I guess.
Right.
But I don't know if it's in this entire world or if it's just for Nora, but for Nora, it's not okay. And I wonder if it's because of the magnitude of her loss. Like if Nora Durst had only lost one person in the departure, maybe. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say maybe it wouldn't, it would be different. But because she lost her whole family and that has been like her primary identity throughout this universe since the departure. That's who she is. She's the woman who lost her whole family.
Right.
And even though the show has seemingly moved away from that, I mean, it was really heavy in season 1, right? And it feels like the show is moving away from that, but Nora isn't moving away from that. She's still just, Nora Durst, the woman who lost her whole family. And she can't even do something that's really super common, which is to get the name of a loved one you've lost tattooed on you. Like, she can't even do that because it comes with all this other baggage. So she, it's just, she's just in this weird limbo of grief.
Yeah.
She can't use the normal conventions that we all use to like deal with grief, right? Which is what I love so much about when she asked Erica, like, how are you not going crazy?
Yeah, and Erica's like, yeah, I was able to bury my daughter and say goodbye to her.
Yeah, it's just a different thing.
Well, and what I was going to say, because you're like, I don't know of anybody who didn't get that tattoo. I think of it as, what if somebody had a daughter who was brutally murdered? And it was the kind of murder that people knew about. Like, they knew her name. Would you want to talk about that? Would you want a name recognizable enough that somebody might be like, oh, you were so-and-so's mom. Oh, God, I'm so sorry. I heard about that in the news. Like, her loss was so incredibly public that it was talked about, and she was talked about by everybody all the time already. And she finally, moved out of town to somewhere where that's not all she's known for anymore. And potentially she could start to recreate that by putting this out there and reminding people who might not know already.
Right.
So yeah, definitely even beyond just the idea of having closure, I feel like part of why she wanted to leave Mapleton was to escape being known as Nora Durst, spoken of in hushed tones.
Yeah, I think that's 100% true. And part of the thing about the tattoo feels like if she's leaving all that behind, does it mean she's leaving her children behind too? People don't look at me and immediately think of the children I've lost anymore, and that doesn't feel right either. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It's hard to imagine a parallel in our regular non-departure having existence. I know people who have lost people, to terrible acts of violence, but they don't have the type of notoriety that you're describing. You know, very public. Even things that may have made the news briefly, locally, but they don't carry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nora is just such a heartbreaking character in an overall, heartbreaking world. But, and it's not just because she lost her family either. It's not just that, but I don't know. It's something about this place that she's kind of stuck in the middle of.
Yeah,
right?
Most definitely.
This can't move forward, but can't go back kind of place.
Yeah.
And you see her struggle against that. Every moment it feels like, that she's awake, that she's alive. It feels like you could almost see that struggle. Yeah. But then we get this amazing scene.
Oh my God.
How good was this?
This is so great. Yeah, Erica's like, I got to bury her. And then she's like, oh, also, I got a trampoline? And I was like, I'm sorry, what now?
I love that it feels like a completion of the sentence. I got to bury her. And I also got a trampoline. And that's helping me also.
Yeah, most definitely. And like the way that Nora looks at her, like she blinks like, wait, what? Okay.
Because like of all the things you could imagine Erica would say after I got to bury her, I got a trampoline is not anywhere on that list of things.
Oh my God. Yeah, so they get up there and they are jumping in slow motion to protect your neck.
Oh my God, it's so good.
Which
I don't
is
even
the
know
best
why
thing
it's
I've
so
ever
good.
seen.
But it is agreed, 100% agreed. And I'm not even trying to explain why. I don't know why. It just is.
It seems like this is what, like, Erica kind of tried to do what I was talking about in terms of something really physical and visceral that she could do to get the energy out of her when she started to get, and it's something that's so, listen, as somebody who suffers from depression, it can be so hard to get yourself to do this shit that you should do, that will make you feel better. People who are like, well, why don't you just go for a walk? I'm going to fucking slaughter you. I will kill you. Don't say that to me. But you're not wrong. Just don't tell me that, though. I don't want to hear it. You know what I mean? And so I really appreciate that probably Nora was expecting to come here and just drink and cry. And Erica's like, no, we're going out on the trampoline. Like, that's unexpected. And I just really like it. I really do. And she just gets this joyous look on her face while she's doing it,
Their faces when they're jumping is just, it's like such pure joy. It's so like free. It's probably the freest I've ever seen Nora Durst look. Like the smile is probably the purest I've ever seen on her face. The fact that they're jumping to fucking protect their neck is just, it's so good.
Right.
It's so good. I was reading that Wu-Tang samples are really hard to clear for TV.
Oh, really?
And you don't hear them a lot because there's like 48 people in the Wu-Tang Clan and you have to pay them all. Nobody wants to do that. And then there's like so many samples and shit. So they're just really expensive to use. I read that track costs $30,000 for them to get the rights to.
That's insane.
Right.
How much?
Yeah.
30,000?
30,000 for just that one. And I read that they had went looking to get the rights for a bunch of different songs because what's his name? David Lindelof couldn't decide or which song he wanted to use. And then finally, it came down to this one and they got it and it was $30,000.
That is insane.
Yeah, but it was fucking worth every penny.
It really was though, right? Like, it was just so unexpected. And it just, like, I like the fact that you simultaneously see her with this look of joy on her face, but then you also go right to her finally getting home. And you see, she's still like super upset. It's not like it just fixed everything.
Right. It was just a moment.
Yeah.
It was just a moment. And you're right. It's not like, she's a whole new woman now because she jumped on trampoline.
Yep.
Like it's not that at all. But I mean, considering we were just talking about how this whole episode is just like all these terrible moments for Nora, right? Like just a series of terrible moments. And then to have this one, this one good one finally.
Okay, so then she's crossing the bridge, and this is when Tommy catches up with her. And it's just like, yeah, hey, I totally know everything that you did. BD dubs. You went for business. And she kind of, like, lashes back at him a little, and it's just like, I didn't fight. I tried to be generous and give the kid back and be forgiving and let it go. What are you going to do? And then she says, but I really wish that you hadn't left her for me. And he says, I didn't leave her for you. I left her for my dad. I didn't know you existed.
Yeah.
Which is fucking rough.
Yeah, it was just cold-blooded.
Oof, damn.
And he says, you know, when he was talking about why, you know, it would be, you know, because he was saying how he wished his family had never told him that Kevin wasn't his father.
Right, yeah.
And that this would be better for Lily, you know, not knowing who Nora was and not knowing that, you know, her mother had left her and abandoned her and all that kind of stuff, which she's probably right. But Nora's not trying to hear any of that. You know?
Yeah.
She's not, because Tommy is not like unsympathetic from the gate. You know?
Yeah.
He says his thing, and then she goes into her thing about, you know, I tried to be this and I tried. A lot of I statements she was making. Mm-hmm. A lot of I statements. Mm-hmm. So Tommy had to kind of remind her, you know, this wasn't about you. She wasn't for you.
Yeah.
You know, you just happened to fucking be there. None of this is really, you know.
Yeah, I think she fell into the Matt thing a little bit for a second there, where she's like, it was meant to be.
How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sneaks up on you.
Yeah, I mean, like, and it's hard to get away from that sometimes when I mean, no matter what you really believe, it'll just be, you know, the osmosis of being around that kind of talk all the time, you know?
I think it just comes from being us all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're all, like, really susceptible to that.
Yeah, true.
It's a very human trait.
And you just want to make sense of shit.
Yeah. And we all think we're starring in our own fucking movie.
True enough.
You know? So, which makes those moments when people remind you, like Tommy does here, you know, that you're not, in fact, starring in your own little movie.
Completely blasts that to the ground. I felt like I get what he's doing, but I just kind of was just like, I just wasn't sure if this was the time to hit her with that so hard, you know? I don't know. I have very mixed feelings about it because I just get how much she must be struggling.
And I think he says something too to her, like, you can't keep doing this.
Mm-hmm. I guess that's true.
So, and if we consider that no one is talking about what happened with Lily, you know, at least not Kevin, and I guess by extension anyone else. Mm-hmm. You know, maybe someone needed to tell her.
Yeah, that's true.
But again, it's not like I think that, you know, she's necessarily even the bad guy in this, you know. She's not, I'm not, I felt bad for her when he said it, but I think he was right to say it.
Okay. I don't disagree with you. I think it's just that it was just so harsh, you know? And like, maybe she did need to hear it, but not having seen her continually going back there and visiting, which it sounds like that's exactly what he's referring to, is just like, you know, this was an ongoing thing. It's hard for me to be willing to come down on her so hard without having actually watched her do this over and over again.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But anyway, so he finally.
Also,
oops, sorry.
I just wanted to say too, though, it's at first when he says that, it feels, and he probably meant it to just be about like what Nora's doing and how she needs to stop doing it. But she doesn't just need to stop doing it for the sake of Lily or the sake of Christine. She needs to stop doing it for her own sake as well.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, if going there and having the girl ask, who are you, isn't going to do it, that's, I mean, what will, you know?
Yeah, that's definitely not helping her, these trips.
So has kind of a reaction to that. She's like, oh, you're going to lay some harsh truth on me? Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to take that and lay it right out on somebody else.
Because that's how she gets down.
She stops at a fucking Kinko's or someplace and is like, hey, see this picture of this corpse? Can I blow it up and print it out like as large as I'm allowed?
When he looks in, he's like, which picture?
She's just like, Jesus. And she just walks up and takes the photo of his body, all bloody, and pops it right down in front of this ridiculous painting of him being raptured. And his wife says, you are a heartless bitch. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I'm fine with it. Like,
are you fine with it?
I'm fine with it. Because I just cannot stand people who lie to further a religious agenda. And it's a blatant lie. She's trying to act like it's his legacy. No, it's your bullshit that you're using this lie to support. Because you want people to believe a thing. If the facts don't support the thing that you want people to believe, that's not anyone's problem but yours. Don't care. And I'm not kidding. Like, this is the sort of thing that could spawn a crazy cult-like religion. No. I am 100% fine with her nipping this shit in the bud. And being like,
Even though Nora's being super petty.
Don't care.
You don't care about the motivation.
I am 100% okay with it. Like, it took bigger balls than mine. I'll say that. But, so, like, I would not have done it as outright a way. But, like, if I had that photo, would I start circulating it on social media? Maybe I would. Maybe I would. No.
You say who knows?
Who knows? Who can say? But, like, I don't think I could sit on knowing something was that blatant a lie and being hailed as a miracle and all this other garbage, prayer groups centered around it, a painting of him saint-like being lifted into heaven. I don't think I could stand there and watch that.
Well, this is very textbook Nora. You know, we've seen her smash idols in every season. You know, usually when she is hurting the most.
Yes.
And like you said, she has to go and direct that energy towards hurting someone else. But Matt's thing, you know, his cover is faith and Nora's cover is like righteousness. You know, I'm gonna call bullshit, and it is bullshit, the thing that she's pointing at, but she's not doing it because it's bullshit, or that's not the only reason she's doing it.
Yeah.
It's so petty.
I was just like, you know, she calls her a heartless bitch, and I'm like, I'm not saying she's wrong. At all. Is Nora a heartless bitch? A little bit.
You both have valid points.
They do. They really do. The problem is that Nora's heartless in that it's just been broken so many times there's only powder left. You know? It's not like she was born this way. She's broken so badly. So, you know, she's not wrong, but it's not like just a personality trait, you know? It's part of a result of shit.
Yeah. As far as we know.
True. We don't know her before, so.
Yeah.
But also, how heartless can you be to just give people false hope and pretend that this thing happened?
I would say that the other woman's, the Brett Butler's character is probably also heartbroken and has been, you know, maybe not through the duration, because it really seems like she was in league, sounds a little too menacing, but you know, she was on the same page with her husband. But yeah, I don't know if I want to be completely dismissive of her heartbreak. Because this is a man who, you know, gave up their life together to do this other thing, and all he got out of it was a heart attack and a crushed skull. There was no divine ending
Right.
for his faith and suffering.
Mm-hmm.
He just fucking took a header off of a post.
That's
And
what
she
faith
watched it.
means. That means having faith that just because he didn't have this amazing lifting into heaven moment that you expected, that doesn't mean that he didn't get his reward at some point. You don't know. He died. The whole thing is supposed to be after death, right? The whole point is supposed to be that you don't know what happened. That's why it's called faith, because you don't get to sit there and watch it.
But they all want to see it. Even Matt wants
Then
to
they
see
don't
it.
have any faith. Hi!
And I
If
think
you have to
maybe now
make
we're
shit
getting
up,
down
that's
to it.
not faith. That's just lying. Like, how? That's just the opposite of it, though, guys.
Yeah, I don't think, maybe they have a different definition. Maybe they're working from a different dictionary.
I think they got a whole other, like, set of rules for life that I didn't get in on. I feel like that about a lot of people.
Yeah, we were just talking about that earlier.
Right? Oh, God. So, yeah, she goes and does that shit. I'm applauding. I love the fact that his wife is like, hey, get back here. And she's like, bitch, no, I'm done. I did my job. I put that picture up. Bye-bye. I'm not standing here to fight with you. I was like, good. Just go home, girl. You were the hero for the day. You did what you needed to do. Now you're done.
Go home so you can see some more fucked up shit.
Mm-hmm.
Hurry home.
And I don't doubt this is going to come back at her a little bit. Like, people are going to be sour that she did this. But also, this is practically her job. It is her job to fucking disprove this shit, you know?
That's true.
So,
I mean, it's not her job to publicly display, post-autopsy pictures.
no, but one could argue that this was a scam.
Well, yeah, but broadly, she is in the fraud department, and this is fraud.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta alert the public of fraud. A memo might have been okay, but
oh my God, a memo. BT Dubs, just so you know.
Like one of those government issued press releases that don't have morgue photos on them.
Oh my God. So she walks upstairs thinking, I'm going to lay down and have a nice night and
Nope.
just chill. And Kevin's like, I could not stop laughing because if I were her, I would assume he was jerking off.
It looks like it too from the way they shot it, from her coming in.
100%.
Yeah.
And I would be totally fine with that. I'd be like, yeah, that's really dangerous, but also, like, I guess if that's what you're into. If I walked back around that bed and noticed that he was in fact not jerking off,
then you're in a totally different
then I'm just flipped out. I can deal with sexual kinks of weirdness that I don't understand. I can deal with it. I may not understand it on a like real level, but I can just stand back and be like, all right, fine.
Well, sexual, predilections I can work with.
Yeah.
But this shit.
This is just a whole other thing. And then he tells her, I always take it off.
That's not reassuring because that tells me you do this shit all the time.
Not only does he not do this shit, do this shit all the time, but when we saw him do this in the first episode, he lets that go on a minute before it cuts to him just leaving the house. I'm working through my day. He really lets it go on a long time, and that isn't necessarily always something that he's going to be able to control every single time in a predictable way.
Right.
That's what would worry me.
We don't have a reason to believe he's lying in this moment.
Right.
But we also, as an audience, don't know, and we talked about it in the first episode, if he is taking it off in time or if he's doing the thing that he does, which is just dying and coming back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I kind of want him to do that. Like, for her to see. She hasn't seen it ever, right?
No, she's never been there.
Because I kind of feel like she's able to take this book thing as more of a joke.
I was just going to say that too, because she's never actually witnessed any of this. It's much easier for her to think that it's just a big joke.
And she then sits down and just tells him, it's okay, you don't have to explain. Because she had people fucking shooting her in the chest.
Yeah.
She gets it.
Yeah. And he says, I just do it so I can feel, but he doesn't really finish the sentence.
Yeah.
So it's just, I just do it so I can feel. Which I feel like is kind of a whole sentence in and of itself.
Yep. And then she's like, yeah, check out my new tattoo. And all of a sudden, he's like, hey.
What is he thinking?
I want to have a baby.
He's fine as fuck, but what is he thinking?
He's a dude.
Talk about not being the time to say some shit. This is not the time to be like, oh, let's have a baby. Because clearly all of our shit is together 100%.
She just laughs in his face. Listen, I can't even use the argument of, well, he doesn't have kids, so he doesn't understand how they'll fuck things up more than they'll help. Because he does have kids. He should know.
I don't even know if it's just about how the kids fuck it up, but just it's ludicrous.
Mm-hmm.
That in this moment of her walking in, finding him, suffocating him, you know what I mean? That he would think this is he shouldn't be saying anything right now. Like he should just be quiet. And her reaction past the laughing at him, which I thought was 100% appropriate.
Yes. Oh, definitely. There's no reason to entertain that shit.
I thought she was going to be like, are you fucking kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
Right now? You still have duct tape around your neck. But instead she does the thing where it's like, you know, and then she says, are you happy? And his answer, that's the worst I'm happy I've ever seen.
What is with these people?
The least convincing I am happy I have ever seen.
Can they just admit they're not happy? Like, why is it so impossible for them to just be like, no, I'm not. I'm fucked up. Maybe
because it feels like ungrateful to admit you're unhappy in this world where 2% of the population has disappeared. I don't know. But no one... I think Jill was the last person to say out loud, I'm fucked up.
Yeah, and she's the one that's doing the best, right?
Right?
She's like... It's just one of those, like... We place so much value on the idea of being happy, and, like, don't get me wrong. Of course we do. That's fine. Wanting to be happy is no crime. But nothing stresses me out more than people who try too hard to be positive in the face of fucking tragedy. Like, you're not allowed to be upset for some reason. Like, you have to just soldier through and do your best and not let anybody see how much it's getting to you. I can't abide that shit. The Secret, where if you just act like it's all fine, then it'll come to you. Like, I just feel like as a culture, we sort of OD'd on that for a little while, of never being able to say anything negative because it was somehow feeding into it, was like the wording that was often used. And
if you express any kind of negativity, people will often say, well, that's why your life's fucked up.
Right.
Like, it will be used as a way to blame you for what's wrong in your life.
Yep.
Which is a really fucked up, twisted thing that we have
yeah, it's a really like victim blamey handling of the situation. And that's not to say that I don't know people who are excessively negative and who do focus so much on the negative that I don't think they could be happy no matter what happened to them, because they simply don't see the good in almost anything. My grandmother having been one of those people. She was someone that you could give her money and she, like, if you won the lottery and gave her a huge chunk of money, she'd be complaining about how she'd have to pay income tax on it or something. That would be the thing that she focused on, was how much money she wasn't going to get because of taxes. That's who she was. So those people exist, But you can tell when you met someone like that versus somebody who's going through a hard time, and the hard time goes on a while. People go through bad stages in their lives that last for years. I mean, I feel like I'm finally just coming out of a bad stage in my life that went on for about 7 years. And it's only just now starting to wrap up and get better. But divorce, multiple family deaths, like moving across country, being broke, losing my job, losing another job, like everything went wrong. And I tried and have a positive attitude a lot of the time, but every now and then I just had to write a Facebook post and be like, everything is garbage. And everyone keeps being like, don't worry, it can't get any worse. Why would you say those words out loud? It's like you're fucking with me, you know? Like, it can only get better. No.
Are you sure about that?
It can't. You're saying that to try and make me feel better. But then it just gets worse, and I'm like, but how? They said it could only get better.
They lied.
They lied to me. So I just wish to God they could be fucking honest with each other. Yeah. It's so hard to watch.
It's fucked up because, like, after this whole trip that Nora's been on, right, and all these terrible moments and these breakdowns and, you know, all that shit that she had, I don't know. It's hard for me to say what her intention was when she came home. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know if she was going to come home and, like, not talk about it with Kevin, or maybe she would have if she didn't fucking walk in on him with a bag over his head.
Yeah.
You know? So, like, on the one hand, I'm super frustrated that they don't just fucking talk to each other and are honest with each other.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's like, well, shit, when was there a fucking chance?
Yeah, true. Just like, I feel like the chance is when you sit down and tell him he doesn't have to explain and show him your tattoo. And then be like, hey, listen.
But then he fucks it up by saying, let's have a baby.
Yeah, that's true. He did do that shit.
You know, like, if he just shut up for a minute, maybe she could have told him the story of the tattoo.
True.
Didn't get a chance.
I mean, he makes a solid point. Yeah, when a dude suddenly busts out with, I want you to have my baby, it does sort of throw things off.
And it makes me wonder now that I've said it, that it's like that weird impulsive thing that he said. Is it because he was afraid of that silence? Like, maybe she was going to say something too fucking real? So let's fill up this moment with baby talk, you know? I don't know.
That's so, the way you say it, like, fill up this moment with baby talk, it just sounds like he's like, does Nora want to have a baby? Fucking creepy.
But yeah, you know what I mean?
It's I totally do. Maybe that is what it was. It's just that he was like, I can't handle this weird, awkward moment after she caught me. Maybe I don't know. He seemed really sincere.
He totally did.
Which is what's really, like, kind of the most alarming part.
Yeah, I mean, I 100% believe he thought that was a good thing to say and a good idea for them.
Maybe what it was, like, kind of rewatching that moment, maybe the reason he says it is because she tells him he doesn't have to explain. And so he has such a, like, feeling of connection to her right then, with her seeming to, like, get him in a real way, and in a way that he never thought he was going to be able to explain to anybody, that all of a sudden he was like, oh my God, you're the person. You're my person.
Right.
Maybe? It still does not excuse making that crazy suggestion right then. But that's all I can think is that the way that he looks at her before he says it is kind of like, oh my God, I don't have to explain, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I get that. Like, it does feel like he has this. It's funny. It's not funny. It's fucked up because she does this remarkably compassionate thing where she says it's okay and you don't have to explain. Mm-hmm. And it would have been a wonderful time for her to be able to be truthful about some of her shit and him give her the same thing in return.
Right.
But he's so overcome with this feeling of connection that you just described that he can't even stop for a minute, you know.
Mm-hmm.
He feels something and it feels good, so I have to, you know,
blurt that shit out.
Blurt it out, you know, because this seems like something that will extend this feeling of connection I have with you.
All right.
So it kind of just is about him.
What else is new? So they're in the middle of this moment of her laughing and just being like, no. And she gets a phone call and they're like, hey, can you be in Australia with 20 grand next week? 2 days, whatever the fuck. And she's like, yeah, I could do that. And she tells him that he can come with her because he asks to come. And she's like, yeah, all right, sure. Which, why not? Let's make it a whole family event. And then we cut to Australia. And you know it's Australia because there's a kangaroo.
That's a dead giveaway.
And...
it was a kangaroo.
Yeah, this is like very similar to the hitting of the deer that Kevin goes through. Mm-hmm. And his name is also Kevin. He's also a police officer, yeah. And he hits this kangaroo. There's this really upsetting sound effect of it like breathing horribly before he finally shoots it. And then he goes into the office and this dude was about to wrap up for the night, even though there's apparently like nobody else here.
And his shift wasn't over.
And he's just like, oh, so you're psychic now. Neat.
Yeah. This Kevin is a dick, but he wasn't wrong on this. You don't just wrap up your shift early. Don't tell nobody. You got nobody else covering it.
Right. I don't like this guy. I feel like they're trying to frame him as being sort of a dick, but he's like completely in the right here.
Yeah, he's absolutely in the right. He is a dick. They're not exclusive. He's totally a dick because then he does the whole thing about the damn dog and, you know, that was uncalled for.
Yeah.
But he's not wrong.
No, like he's just like the dog thing was like dickish, but also sounds like somebody that he has to keep from slacking off all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but he's just like, I know it's not your wife because you're not married. And the dude is like, because he's like, who's Jenny? And the dude's like, you know who it is. So we've talked about this before.
Right.
But you're still going to do this whole fucking performance for the sake of just me because we're the only two people here.
That's pretty good, though. That's kind of a power play.
And then he throws his keys at him. The guy is not ready, so he like drops the keys. It's just bad all around.
I just like, yeah, I feel like they were like, oh, look, he just shot a kangaroo. Look what a dick too. But he like the thing was dying.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not sure if that was what they wanted me to think, but I guess maybe just that he's really like to the point about shit.
I think just calling him a dick is fair. I don't feel bad about it.
Yeah, all right.
He's got like, 7 minutes of screen time and he's pretty dickish throughout.
Yep.
And there's news playing when we go in the station before the guy turns the TV off. Did you catch any of that?
No. What was it?
It was just a newscast talking about the anniversary.
Maybe I did. I don't know. There's so much that's kind of in the background on this that I forget what's being talked about where,
All right.
Is it something that I should have caught?
If you want to go back and rewatch that, we're done. I mean, I'm not the boss of you.
You can tell me if it was something that I was supposed to catch.
Well, I can't force you to catch it.
I'm not saying...
you might rewatch it and still not catch it.
I'm saying just tell me what they were saying.
Well, they were just talking about how the anniversary was coming up. But one fun little fact is that it's the 15th for them, though, which I thought was a neat...
right.
thing.
That's funny.
But that's really, and then the newscaster is being a little over the top. It's kind of funny because he's like, what does he say?
Mhm.
There's a warm front coming, so be prepared for a rain of locusts, and the seas might boil.
Oh my God.
Having a little bit of fun. So then after the scene at the police station, the fake Kevin takes the other guy's car, tells him to wash his car because it's got roof brains all over it.
Yeah, that is super gross.
He makes
That
him
part
stay.
is a little dickish. You
It is,
wash
right?
my car,
He
sure.
yells, makes him stay, is a total asshole about it, and then says to him, wash off my car. I'm going to take yours. And then he goes home.
Oh man, that's pretty good. All right, so he's a dick. But he's still right, though. I feel about him the way I feel about Nora.
Again, both have valid points.
Exactly.
And then, he gets to his house, and there are these, like, 4 women on horseback.
This is bananas.
So, what did you think? I really don't have a lot to say here. What did you think this was
all I
about?
think, like, when they're like, are you Kevin? I'm like, motherfucker, they're going to kill this guy and think he's going to come back. Sure enough. I thought maybe we jumped ahead in time again. You know, like, I wasn't sure because we were seeing nobody that we already know when this is.
Right.
But yeah, he tries to just be like, get the fuck off my property. And they shoot him with a fucking tranquilizer dart.
They sure do. Florence does.
Oh my God.
And Grace is like, what are you doing? She's like, he wasn't coming.
She's like, what do you mean, what am I doing? You know. She's kind of acting like, you know we brought a tranquilizer gun, right?
I know, right? Why are you acting so surprised I shot him? What'd you think I brought it for?
So this guy goes down like a sack of potatoes, and they drag his ass out to a fucking witch trial where they tie him to a plank. And he wakes up and is arguing, and this woman's all, we know who you are, in this creepy tone. And they drown him. And she's waiting for his ass to come back, and he does not. Because he's just some guy.
He's just some Kevin.
Just some random Kevin. I don't know that these women know that Kevin is his father's son, because apparently his dad's chilling out here still in Australia. And I don't understand, like, if they can't know, because they would have to be like, A, we're not going to kill his son when he's right inside. Or B, probably he has pictures of his son, right? And they would have seen them. So I don't know.
How they would mistake this Kevin.
Right? So, I don't, like...
She also quotes what sounds like scripture.
Yes. It sounds like Matt's dumbass scripture.
Right?
Matt's trying to act like he never made any copies. You know what? That motherfucker scanned that shit and sent it out to like 1 million creepy conspiracy theory websites, and it is everywhere, and they don't know it yet. Because of course he did. I bet he had a blog live as he was writing it.
Oh my God.
And he put it on fucking WordPress and what's that fucking writer's website? And he just took feedback and changed it up a little bit. Yeah, I mean, it's a Wattpad, the new Bible. But yeah.
Oh my God, Wattpad. Oh my God.
So, but the thing is, like, of course he has to, like, put that out there, but he won't circulate a photo with it so that they don't mistake every Kevin that comes along. They have to know that it's, I guess they don't, but, like, I would think that they would realize that he's American, You know, just like there's so much about this that I'm like, what are you thinking? You just show up to random places and are like, are you Kevin? You going to kill every Kevin? That's a lot of Kevins.
I mean, right? Their screening process is woefully inadequate. Though, let us not forget that he's not just a Kevin. He's also a chief of police Kevin. She was very clear. She made sure that he was also a chief.
Mm-hmm.
So that's got to whittle down the Kevins.
True.
I mean, there's still clearly more than one. But
that's true.
But if she's playing the odds, So, Kevin's dad comes out at the end looking befuddled. Do you have any... Trying to think.
You're trying to ask a question without asking too much of a question.
Yeah, but also trying to make my question make sense too, because when I watched this, I was really fucking confused. I'm just gonna put it out there.
Okay, I mean that's a constant state of being while watching this show, right? So that's fine.
I feel like it's fair. And we've all known that Kevin's father was in Australia. So I knew we would see him. But I didn't expect to see him like this.
Honestly, he wanders out there like that. That's exactly how I expected to see him.
Is it really?
100%. He was in a fucking smoke lodge last time. Talking to his son through a television while he was dead.
I expected him to be like in the middle of the desert or something. I didn't expect him to be like in the company of women, tying some other Kevin to a plank trying to drown them.
I pictured him being because I mean, when he's like in the smoke lodge, it looks like he's also in a hotel room on his end, right?
Yes.
So I figured he was in some weird retreat center and that there was probably a crew of people smoking tons of weed, and basically I pictured everybody living like the guy on the top of the pillar.
Okay. That makes sense. I think I thought because when we see him, he is in his version of the hotel room, he tells us that he drank some kind of thing they call God's tongue.
Yeah.
So I think I just expected him to be maybe in a more indigenous environment, maybe. Like, I would expect to be with, 4 white women.
See, when he was like, I drank some shit, I'm like, this motherfucker is on the most white people thing. Like, this is so white. Like, this is the retreat center I went to in California where everybody's like, because we did one of these. There was a sweat lodge where we were supposed to, have visions and look into this mirror and see ourselves as our past lives and the shit. Like, that's totally what I was picturing is basically where I went. And
that is some white shit.
Right? Like, they're like, well, it's a vision quest, except with tents and iodine tablets. Like, it's really not like you're trying to make it, but whatever. So yeah, I felt like and I'm not trying to devalue what he's doing to make it sound like it's just full of shit, because clearly that shit worked somehow. Kevin got a message from his dad.
Yeah, true.
But I definitely felt like it was an accident. I feel like it's the kind of thing, it worked despite the ineptitude of the people.
Holy shit, it worked.
Exactly. See, this is what I'm saying. This is the kind of thing that the ingredients are just so powerful that even though everybody is bad at this, it still wound up working. It's the sort of thing where I picture, if there were, spirit guides standing around watching them, and they're just, have their faces in their hands, and they're just going, yeah, send him through. I mean, he said he did the thing. Go ahead. Yep. And he's just like, ugh, I'm so tired of this.
It's another one.
Exactly. And then he comes back up out of it, and he gets a Big Mac and a fucking beer, and it's just like, man, spiritual shit's hard. Large fry, please.
I can't believe they came back from a spiritual quest with the munchies.
What's that?
You just described him like coming back from a spiritual quest with the munchies.
I mean, come on. God's tongue, you don't think that shit gives you the munchies? God is the hungriest motherfucker. God eats solar systems and shit, right? I bet you get quite a taste for things.
That's what I read.
So, yeah. That, they drown this dude and he walks out and is like, what are you ladies up to? Did you crazy cats drown another Kevin tonight? I don't think he sees it quite yet.
Kevin drowning time again.
Right? Another one? God, you characters. Yeah, I don't know, like, I don't like this. I don't like it at all. It's frankly where I stand right now. I don't like watching people do terrifying shit because of faith. Like, it's just so scary. It's just so deeply, deeply frightening. And I just want there to be more than this to whatever weird community he's gotten himself involved in. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I need there to be something else. Because if we just have a bunch of... It's basically like the reverse witch trials, where everybody thinks that they're witches and burns them, and it turns out they're not guilty. And it's like, well, we think that you're godlike, and we're totally confident you'll survive this. But instead they're just murdering everybody named Kevin, who's a policeman.
Oh my god. It's an entirely different type of cult.
You know, like, it's just... If I found out about this, I'd be quitting my job so quick. Yeah, I'm Kevin. No, police chief? No, I work at Walmart. What? I don't know where you heard that. Totally not me at all.
Oh wait, am I still wearing my uniform? This is awkward.
This is a costume party later. No, yeah. See this cheap thing. It's polyester. Yeah, so that was a weird episode. Yeah, you being like, I was really confused while I was watching this. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Really?
Not the confession I thought it was, but once I said it, I was like, yeah, okay, that's really not saying it. But, you know, because this episode wasn't on its surface one of the weird ones, you know what I mean? Like, everything happened in a timeline that you could follow.
Mm-hmm.
There were people that you knew. It all made sense. And then at the end, it was like, oh, we're going to do this thing now.
Yeah, I see that. Just tacked it right on in there.
From a lot of the other episodes.
Well, we've been talking for 2.5 hours, so we better wrap this up. Actually, almost 3 hours.
Even though I was very firm at the beginning.
Well, you did say it's because we have a lot to get through, and you weren't wrong.
That's true.
I just want to say thank you to Brenton Harish, who left us the most recent review on iTunes on June 26th, because before that, the most recent one was December 2016. So it had been a while. I thought that we did this show earlier this year, but apparently it was last year. So, and Brenton says, awesome show covering all my favorite TV show, my all-time favorite TV show Leftovers, I think is what he meant to say. It's a little muddled. The fun of experiencing this show for the first time again is a blast, and I can't wait for the start of season 3. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Brenton.
Thank you.
Brenton from Australia, BT dubs. Watch out, Brenton. Watch out for those crazy women on horseback. And just a reminder to everybody that if you would like to become a patron at patreon.com/unspoiled, you'll get access to my spoopy episodes coming up of Unspooked, in which I read scary true tales that I found from various sources online and accent it with a little bit of spooky music and spooky sound effects. And it has been really fun to do them the past few years. And I got some really good feedback on this new one. And no matter what level you pledge at, you get access to those. And for $5 and up, you get access to me and Maggie talking about the most recent season of Twin Peaks. I was about to say Stranger Things. And that has been super weird. If you've been wanting to listen to people talk about that, I think that's one in particular that a lot of people are just like, what did you think? And I'm like, that's too big a question. Listen to the show. And if you are $10 and up, you will be getting a special Unspoiled themed postcard in the mail every month. And this month they're going out a little later than usual because it was my birthday and I took the weekend off. So I have not finished writing them all, but they will be going out. And for September, they were a double bookmark postcard that you can cut down the middle and use them each as bookmarks. And yeah, I think I have them for October and November already. I didn't choose one for December, but I think I might just make it a Christmas card. We'll see. But I am really excited about doing the postcard things. It's really fun. So hopefully those of you who are $10 and up have been enjoying getting those. And I think that's about all I wanted to mention this time around.
All right.
Yeah, so everyone, thank you so much for listening. Apologies for this episode going super long, but hopefully you enjoyed it. And we will see you next week with a new episode. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye.
Standing tall on the wings of my dream, rise and fall on the wings of my dream. Rain, thunder, wind and haze, I'm bound for better days. My life, my dream, nothing's gonna stop me now.
This is an Unspoiled Network podcast.